You know, we usually think of a boxing gym and a classroom as two totally separate worlds, right? But what if I told you the skills you need to win in one are the exact same skills you need to crush it in the other? Today, we're going to dive into how the Equal Chance Boxing Foundation is using the sweet science to build some seriously unstoppable students.
And this right here, this is the whole idea in a nutshell. The foundation's big argument is that the problem isn't the student at all. The problem is that there's no bridge to help them carry the skills they already have from one part of their life to another. And we're about to see exactly how they build that bridge. So, first thing we need to tackle is what the source calls the two-silo myth. This is that common, but honestly really flawed idea that being physically gifted and being academically smart are in two completely separate boxes.
Okay, now check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. On the left in a classroom, you've got a teenager who might get slapped with a label like unfocused or not a good student. But look to the right. That is the exact same kid in the gym. And what are they doing? They're memorizing complex patterns, they've got laser-like focus, and they can take a hit and immediately adjust their strategy. So the skills are there. They just haven't been shown how to use them on a math test.
And that gets us right to the heart of the matter. It's not really about how smart you are. It's all about how you handle that feeling of failure. In a boxing ring, you literally learn how to take a punch. In a classroom, you have to learn how to take a punch on paper. And that all comes down to building a little something called frustration tolerance. So what is frustration tolerance exactly? Well, it's that ability to just sit with that super uncomfortable feeling of being stuck, of your brain going into a mini panic over a problem and just keep going. It's the skill that stops you from slamming the book shut when things get tough. I mean, this is such a brilliant way to put it, isn't it? The foundation teaches these kids to completely reframe that feeling. Instead of being a signal to stop, frustration becomes a sign that you're actually getting stronger. It means your brain is working hard, building new connections. It's basically the mental version of your muscles being sore after a really good workout. So how do they do it? They teach this 4-step mental counterpunch. Step 1, you face the tough thing, like a hard exam question. Step 2, you let yourself feel that sting of frustration. You don't ignore it. But then, and here's the key, step 3, you reset your stance. You take a breath, just like a boxer. And finally, step 4, you re-engage the problem, maybe from a totally new angle. You learn to take that punch and keep on fighting.
All right, this leads us to the next huge piece of the puzzle. This isn't about waiting for a lightning bolt of inspiration to strike. It's about building a rock-solid routine. What they teach is that real success comes from discipline, not from motivation. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Think about it. Motivation, it's a feeling, right? It's flaky. Some days you have it, some days you don't. It's totally unreliable. But discipline, that's an action. It's something you build through habit, through routine. It's the engine that's going to get you there, especially on the days you really don't feel like it.
And here it is. This is the takeaway. It's so simple, but it's so incredibly powerful. Once you separate the action of doing the work from the emotion of wanting to do it, well, procrastination suddenly loses all its power. You just do your reps, whether it's hitting a heavy bag or hitting the books.
Okay, but what happens when you're doing all the work, but you're still just stuck? For a lot of students, asking for help feels like admitting you failed. This next part shows how boxing just completely flips that idea on its head. I absolutely love this analogy. A boxer would never, ever ignore their coach, their corner man, in the middle of a fight. That would be insane. Just a terrible strategy. The foundation teaches these kids to see their teachers and tutors as their academic corner man. Asking a question isn't a sign that you're weak. It's a smart, strategic move from a competitor who is absolutely determined to win. And this brings us to what might be the most profound transformation of all, a change in identity. See, a lot of these kids walk in the door carrying some really heavy, negative labels that the world has put on them. I mean, just think about the weight of these words. Troublemaker, slow learner. When a kid hears this stuff enough times, it starts to stick. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That label becomes who they think they are. But then, they put on this simple, plain white t-shirt. And in that moment, all those labels from the outside world, they just get erased. Inside that gym, nobody cares about your report card or your detention record. You are judged by one thing and one thing only, your work ethic. It's a totally blank canvas. And this is where the mental light switch flips.
When a young person who's been told they're a failure suddenly becomes respected and successful in the gym, they prove to themselves that those labels were wrong all along. That newfound confidence then opens up this possibility in their mind, hey, if I can be great in here, maybe I can be great out there too. So the whole philosophy is powerful, right? The stories are super inspiring, but here's the big question. Does this approach actually work at scale? To find that out, we got to move from the theory to the hard evidence. Let's look at the numbers. First up, let's just talk about reach. The Equal Chance Boxing Foundation has already trained over 500 young people. So this isn't some small little boutique program. We're talking about an initiative that's making a real significant dent in the community.
And now for the number that really made my jaw drop, a 95% program completion rate. In a world where it's hard to get anyone to stick with, well, anything, that number is absolutely staggering. It tells you this isn't just a program they go to. It's a community they fully commit to. The model doesn't just work, it creates incredible buy-in.
So when you put all the pieces together, it becomes really clear this is so much more than a sports program. It's a powerful educational model that teaches all the crucial mental skills that the traditional system sometimes misses. You know, resilience, discipline, and the absolute courage to get back up after you get knocked down. And that just leaves us with this final thought to chew on. We always measure a boxer's success by the wins and losses on their record. But what if the real prize, the greatest victory of all for these stellar athletes, isn't written on a scorecard, but on a diploma? It's a pretty powerful question to think about.